Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Ken the Revolutionary for another quick, brief session. Today I didn't go live earlier as usual, but I'll keep this one pithy, or rather, I'll let you guys leave your pithy comments, but I'll keep this one short, okay? The first order of business is to do what? Like the video. If this is your first time in this channel, my name is Kenyan Revolutionary, and we talk about Kenyan politics and while politics is relates to Kenya. Okay, today the biggest news was Rose Njeri arrest. Rose Njeri. Okay, this is a Gen Z. Well, technically she's not a Gen Z because she's 35 years old. I think she's a millennial by, if you are to kind of classify her under an age group, but nevertheless she's Gen Z by association as far as what she's fighting for, politically speaking, that is. So this lady was arrested apparently for exposing what's on the finance bill, the coming finance bill, the finance bill that is being worked on by these members of parliament. There was a discussion about it. There was a public participation that was supposed to end last Thursday or Friday, whatever the case is. But anyway, let me just go back to what happens with Rose Njeri. Rose Njeri was exposing what we should expect from the finance bill that has been proposed, okay? And she kind of developed this whole link where, because she's a tech-savvy lady, I think she was, her background has to do with, she took some classes in Harvard, IT classes and stuff, so she knows, she's a techie, okay? So she kind of created this link where you just, you can just hit that link and it can send information to your local lawmaker, basically to reject the finance bill. And this basically did not sit well with the government or pro-finance bill proponents, which is the government. So they had to, they arrested her. Apparently, she was arrested. There haven't been any new reports about her arrest, but we'll keep on following the news as it continues. But being that she was part of the Gen Z politically speaking, she's a Gen Z, could it be that this arrest by the government of Rose Njeri, could this be what will precipitate the appetite that Kenyans had, the anger that Kenyans had, the millennials, the Gen Zs had last year, that drove them in droves to the streets? Could it be that event that will make people go out to the streets and vigorously fight? I'm talking about protest, not fight, but protest against this finance bill 2025-2026. Because there's a lot of hashtag going out there, free Njeri. This time we don't know, it won't be Occupy Parliament. This time it should be Occupy State House 2025. Okay, we shall discuss that. So I won't stay here for long. I'll be here very briefly because it's kind of late. By the way, guys, congratulations to the PSG football team for winning the Champions League. That was, it was a thumping, okay? 5-0. It was not worth watching, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I picked the Nerazzurri, and they lost miserably. The biggest loss in a Champions League game. But anyway, let's get back to the matter, okay? So anyway, I'm glad that it kind of seems like the next week, after this weekend's events, remember this weekend, the main news that is happening right now is what is actually happening in Homa Bay. We are getting reports that, it's kind of like they're doing the same thing that the Kisii guys did in that Shabana Stadium. Remember when Matiang'i came to had that homecoming in Shabana Stadium? There were people who were allowed in that stadium the night before the event, the night before Matiang'i actually arrived at the stadium for the event. So similarly, we are getting reports from news outlets, Githeri Media, telling us that, in Homa Bay, there are people who by 9:30 p.m. tonight, earlier, the stadium, Raila Odinga Stadium, was filled up to the brim. Watu walijaa. People are going to Kesha, waiting for Raila Odinga and his newfound brother, William Samoei Ruto, to address the public for the Madaraka Day celebrations. So you see this kind of similarity. I told you guys in my last previous video that these are choreographed events. Sema wachani Atticus na kuona hapo, karibu sana. Let me know if you need the link, you want to say something. Karibu sana, I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. Usininyime like, weka like hapo tafadhali. Tafadhali, Mr. Gandhi. Karibu sana. Nice seeing you, Atticus. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well. I hope maisha nakupeleka vizuri huko. I haven't seen some of you guys. I haven't seen you for a while. So when I see you like this, inanifurahisha kwa nasikia niko na furaha moyoni, okay? So nice seeing you, Atticus, okay? Nice seeing you. So yeah, like I was saying, guys, a GOK PR machine is working overtime. Yes, government. I'm telling you, they are working overtime. They are on it. But like I said in my previous video, I said that these events are choreographed. What a coincidence, sorry. The same weekend, Madaraka Day weekend, when Ruto and Raila are in Homa Bay, and the people of Homa Bay are basically happy to see them. Thank you so much, Zainab Onyona. Yes, Onyona. Zainab Benyam, thank you so much. Weka like up, dunga like, bless me with the like. That's all I ask from you guys. Just like the video, and if you have subscribed, okay? So, like I was saying, these events are choreographed because what a coincidence. Ruto and Raila are in Homa Bay, going to address the people of Homa Bay and also to flex their, their muscle, flex on the opposition to show them, hey, this government has supporters in Nyanza province. At the same time, we have Wamunyoro in Seikuru and the Uko Central, Karib na Central Uko. They are also going to try to flex to show Ruto that, hey, listen, Ata Sisi opposition, the so-called fake opposition, in my opinion, are going to brag about how they have followers in that section of the country, okay? And I mentioned this on my live. Again, I won't stay here for long. I know it's Saturday. You people have things to do. If you're a PSG fan, you're probably drinking or having fun. So I won't keep you here. But what I'm trying to say is this. Don't you see that they're trying to maintain this dichotomy, this whole fake opposition versus the government, okay? The government of the day. They're telling you that basically these are the real two horses that you're going to have to choose from in the next election, whether we are going to have it in 2026, as Willie Sotieno is telling us. He's citing the Constitution, so I'm with him on that. Or if you're going to have it in 2027. But basically what I'm saying is this. They're not giving any room for Gen Z, patriotic Kenyans who can think for themselves and say, why should we only have these two choices? The Wamunyoro side or the Raila Ruto side, okay? That's basically what they're doing, what the political class are doing, are basically trying to have program you mentally, psychologically program you into seeing that, into believing that the only choice you have politically is either the Wamunyoro faction or the Ruto Raila faction. That's why you see that this weekend. It started yesterday, the day before yesterday, when Ruto was in Kisumu, and Wamunyoro was in Saikuru. Okay. So tomorrow you'll see that Ruto and Raila and Gladys Wanga and the rest of them will be in Homa Bay, and you will see that Wamunyoro will be somewhere, maybe in Central or Ukambani or wherever the case is, somewhere in Mount Kenya. They will also have their event where they'll also try to flex their muscle, okay? The whole point is this. They're psychologically trying to tell Kenyans that, hey, you have two choices. It's either the Wamunyoro side or the Ruto Raila side. That's the only choice you have. They want to kill this whole idea of Gen Z, the leaderless, tribeless, partyless. They want to kill that. They want to maintain these two choices, okay? This binary choice of Wamunyoro and Matiangi and the rest of the opposition, and then Raila and Ruto. That's basically what's at play here. That's why you'll see tomorrow kutakuwa na usarakasi mingi. You'll hear a lot of funny remarks. In fact, today there was already a funny remark when somebody was saying, what was it? Shares ya mamako or something like that. It was just it's getting more disrespectful and out of it's ridiculous. Okay. Nani anasema hivi, let me read Atticus saying the traditional dichotomy is being pushed hard. The thing is, it's only working on those who it has worked on before. The now majority are not buying it. I hope so. It's not working anymore. Gachagua is a part of a larger plot by the political class. He is still involved with Ruto, Uhuru, and Raila, just behind the scenes. Alama 100 kwa bwana Atticus. Atticus, he rarely shows up, but when he shows up, hey, ujue siasa ni moto. Very good point. Exactly. In fact, I was looking at this. There's a guy who has a channel on TikTok, and he highlighted there's a bank that is being owned by Uhuru Kenyatta, and this bank, he was telling us about. He was revealing it. Okay, that bank is owned by Uhuru Kenyatta, and he has a deal with Ruto. He told Ruto not to asifunge, because that's how they're doing. Basically, what he was trying to say is that there are a lot of deals that are happening that involves Ruto, Raila, Uhuru, Moi, Kebake family, all these guys, but they're pretending politically to have this nonsensical difference, and they try to distinguish or kuweka moto in this political difference, create a deep political difference by ethnicizing the politics of Kenya, and they're using historically diametrically opposed constituencies, the Nyanza province, Luo Nyanza versus the central province. The advent after the death of Tom Mboya and whatever, the rest. Okay, so they're using that. That's why you see Gachagua is very, very stubborn in his in his quest of maintaining, try to position himself as the leader of Central Province, while the people of Nyanza Province, you see the ODM lieutenants are always bashing Gachagua, calling him a tribalist, making it a tribal thing, like, oh, we are this and that. So that's what they're maintaining. That's what I'm telling you. All the news you just watch is so predictable. This weekend, it's going to be about the Homa Bay, the matamshi ambao utasikia kutoka kwa kina Gladys Wanga, Junet Mohammed, Mbadi, and all these useless busybodies. And that is what will going to make line. And Sifuna, okay? Then on the other side, you shall hear Wamunyoro. Of course, Gachagua, he will up the notch. He'll take it up a notch. I told you, Gachagua tuambia vitu ambao hamtaamini. Then, of course, Kalonzo will also talk, and Kioni, Maybe Martha Karua might join the fund, or Malwa. Just the, the same people who are pretending, because the aim is, their biggest fear is this finance bill. They're afraid maybe this finance, they don't want to spark, cause another maandamano like we had in June 25th. Yes, false flag operation. Absolutely. Angusha link. Oh, sorry. I didn't see that. Wacha nikuangushie link kidogo hapo nisikie unasema nini. All right, let me give you a link. Let me hear from my brother Atticus. Nisikie anasema nini. Pole sana. I didn't get to see that. Let me see very quickly. Come on. Link ndio hiyo basi. Hope you get. Did you get it? Nimeangusha link hapo. All right, like let's see. Anyone who wants to come in pia mnaweza kuingia. Hold on, wait a minute. Sasa hata hii video yangu hata mbona sioni. Okay, hold on kidogo. Why is my thing not? All right. No link yet? All right, hold on. Ngoja kidogo. You know, teknolojia te class. That's what we used to call it. All right, hold on. Why is my thing not? Sasa hii ni mambo gani jamani? Acha niweke link hapa. Hii link sasa ndio inasumbua hapa. Hala. Okay, let me just move this a little bit. You know, I'm using my Neo, so it's like kind of hard. Let me take it out. What the hell? Umeona link? All right, sorry guys. I'm just trying to put the link here so Atticus can ingia hapo hivyo. Hold on. All right. Let me know, Atticus, once you get the link. I just dropped it if I'm not wrong. Why is it not? Yeah. Atticus, can you guys see the link? I don't know whether somebody's messing with my stuff or. Ngoja kidogo. Let me just give me a second. This is ridiculous. Right, let me see. Link. I hope you get it. Hold on. I don't know why this is not working. All right, hold on, guys. Hold on. All right, link ndio hiyo sasa inakuja. Okay, thank you. I was just wanted to wait. Karibu sana Chief Niggas. Niwekee like hapo mara moja. Musiniwache. Don't leave me. All right, if it's visible, then thank you so much. That's all I wanted to confirm. I don't know why I'm getting this. All right, cool. Perfect. All right, for anyone who wants to come in, please. Njeri. All right, my camera is back on again. I'm back. Karibuni. Thank you. Everybody, make sure you like, subscribe, and do all the good stuff, okay? With any like Apple. Like I say, this is a quick nani. I'll be waiting for Atticus aingie tuambie maoni yake. You know, this was a quick impromptu after Inter Milan wamefanya nimekosa Mbaraka. But wacha tumuingiza Atticus ndio huyo ameingia. Haya. Mwenyewe. Hey. Niambie.
Yeah, bro, can you hear me?
Mambo namna gani?
I'm very well, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's new under the sun? I haven't seen you for a while. I was worried.
Auntie, I'm there, man. I'm just working, getting on with life. Weather's better in London, so at least we're celebrating that. Yeah, ilikuwanga ikinyesha, so right now there's sun out. Can't complain.
I understand. Unajua Babylon mpaka tu ufanye kazi, you know, work and sleep, what sleep. Yeah?
Bro, It's a trap. It's in the trap over here in the West. People think Ngambo ni mzuri. It's a trap. You make money, yes, but you have to keep working.
True.
You know.
Yep. So, what do you make of what's going on in our great country? Unaona hapo, Homa Bay is happening. Watu wanakutana usiku. 9:30 p.m. already the day before. Watu wameshakusanyika.
You know what? NIS need what's it called? A bonus. They really do.
They need a what?
A bonus. Because it's work. Listen, what have you noticed? People aren't as organized as they were from June 26th. The narrative has now changed to people who were in the previous regime. You know? What on Matiang'i this, Matiang'i was there since from when?
1940.
No, no, Matiang'i. Matiang'i was there from not 1940. It's 2014, 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Or something like this with the Huru time. We know what he's about. What's the other one? Gashagwa. We know what he's about. From Moise when he was a DO, then he was DP. We heard his rhetoric. Then there's this Kalonzo fellow. People like Eugene. Yani, it's the same monkeys. Story imebadilika tu kidogo. And somehow, this is getting some traction. But what I've noticed, bro, the traction is coming from those people who I expect to go with this. Crowd age 30 and under, 35 and under, I don't see people going with this thing.
Yeah.
So they have the go.
So do you think we shall probably have another maandamano June 25th or?
No, sioni maandamano. Maandamano ikikuja is if they try to force through some kind of law like last time that will affect people's pockets. Fun fact, the only times you've had like a revolution anywhere in the world, any country that's happened in, is usually because of taxation. It's not about human rights, it's not about democracy, nothing. The thing that breaks the camel's back is the money. Everywhere. From the United States, the Revolutionary War, they were protesting against what? The tea tax is what broke their back, but it was other taxes as well. In France, let them eat cake. That Marie Antoinette.
Yes.
About there's no bread. Well, let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake.
Unaona, when it comes to money, people will riot. But I don't see it happening because what wanangoje election? In my opinion, according to the Constitution, it's supposed to be next year.
Right.
Or August 11th. If you read the Constitution in English. Shida ni kuna watu wengi wabongi Kiingereza Kenya bro. Vizuri. They really don't. Even guys in parliament, you hear them talk. Unashangaa mtu alifikaje hapa.
Parliamentarians, 90% of them are semi-literate.
Yes. Have you noticed one thing? Unakumbuka wakati wa Moi? You remember the quality, the general quality of member of parliament?
Yeah.
These were people wenye walikuwa wameenda shule to some degree. People like Orengo, people like, you understand that caliber. There were more of them during that time. Right now, you have people like Salasia, people like Sudi, Murkomen, Gerard Gay. Where do they get these characters from? Seriously, like, I hear some of them talk. Nashanga, mtu should be somewhere pushing a mkokoteni.
Karen Nyamu.
Imagine this. Is that the one that's been insulting Kenyans and putting stuff on social media and stuff?
Karen Nyamu, she's like a senator and she does not understand her role. Yeah, you see her on clubs, like she was grinding on Nani movie, and she's just vibe.
Sonko.
Yes.
No, I mean, who's the lady who went to Dubai and was fighting with another woman over that woman's husband?
Yeah, it was her.
Boss, do you not see what's going on? I don't believe all these people are voted in. I think this thing was rigged because you can't have this many bad apples at once.
Yeah.
It can't be that the country's lost its mind. Wakapigia tu this kind of person kura. No nasema what Ruto will do ataweka mtego IBC, and this I've been saying this for about 3 years. He doesn't need to rig the vote count. Anajua ni ngumu.
Wait a minute before
Yeah.
even Sunulesikia nani Junet's cousin is almost being confirmed to become part of the IBC commissioners or whatever. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
So, and we've been saying this. That's why I was like, okay, I understand those people who are talking about Chichukweni voter card, whatever, register to vote,
Yeah.
vote. If Junet's whatever cousin or whatever the case is will be presiding, Nani, what's his name?
The knock guy as well.
Yes. Do you expect to have a fair, free, verifiable elections?
No, even if it wasn't them, as long as it's under this current regime, this GOK, this civil service, what wanasahau hii kitu inaitwa civil service pia. Sio ati ni rais peke yake. This civil service as well aids and abets every single regime that comes through.
I like what you said. Actually, because you're seeing it the same way I'm seeing it, especially how this political class, they've managed to make themselves the headlines. Because the discussion last year at around this time was about what was in the finance bill, whether it was the housing levy or whatever, the taxes on fuel, VATs. And Nania mentioned something about the proposed IT data privacy thing that they actually want to.
So mara kwanza.
Yes.
Uhuru alijaribu.
Yes, sir.
You know what they do, my brother?
Yeah.
They make these pronouncements, hoping it'll bring some kind of behavioral change without them having to pass the law. That's why they make a point of going on TV, radio, and raia lazima wasikie hii message. That's what they do. They're hoping people are like, okay, I think we've gone too far, able to slow down kidogo. That's what they're hoping by saying this. Hey, tutawanyang'anya, wanatuongelesha kama watoto. Usipofanya hivi tutakunyang'anya hivi. Usipofanya hivi. That's what they're doing. But I would not be worried. In 2025, people in North Korea can communicate. And they have the biggest lockdown on the internet. Watch at China. So all these little games they're playing mean nothing. I work in tech, yeah? I'm 38. You think these kids don't know as much as I do? Or even more?
They definitely do.
Yeah, were they not crashing some kind of system or website ya GOK the other day, nilisikia? They were like a flooded, denial of service attack, DDoS.
Yeah.
These people know what they're doing. Hizi mchezo ndogo ndogo, they can't win that. What they'll do is this. They know they can't rig the votes like they used to because what work on our smartphones, they know exactly what to do. Take photos of the vote you've taken yourself in the booth privately.
Right.
Or a video, whichever you want to do, or even both. Once you leave the booth, you hang around up until they tally, you take a video when they're counting. Hata kama uko nje, weka simu kwa dirisha, wakicount, whatever.
Yeah.
And when they post the results, you take a photo and people will be uploading it to their social media accounts. What then happens is you'll have other people, citizens, just general, you don't have to be even organized, who will aggregate all these photographic evidences of this constituency, ilipata this many votes for this candidates. This constituency, hivyo. By, if votes stop at 6 p.m., theoretically, we should have the results by 9 p.m. Just us, kama raia, counting.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, I agree with you, and that can be done.
Yeah.
I think, to looking at it from Ruto's side, I mean, this is how arrogant these people are. I don't think the problem for them is that you can prove that they rigged the elections. Okay, they know anyone, any sane person can prove that Ruto is going to steal this election. There's no way he's going to win. But the thing is, what they're banking on is to have enough people that can believe in their lies, because already they've set the stage. If you listen to Wakina Sudi, they're saying kama ijatosha tutaongeza. So it will be a battle of which
perception
side you on. Sisi tumeiba, lakini nyinyi mnasema hatujaiba, but we won. Sort of like what Uhuru pulled in 2017. Okay, there are some people who had access to that server and they could tell that this thing was rigged. Okay, the numbers are not matching up. That's why they denied access to the server. But what they did is, which they went ahead and they declared themselves tumeshinda. So what? Okay, then he takes the mantle and a power. Then whoever has a problem shall be brutalized. That's basically his linear, because they know the public will watawashika, and the public will know. But the linear is just to convince, to have enough people to side with them in their usurping this power, this sovereign power, that donated power that will give the executive. That is what I think. That's what the linear is. It's not a problem of them worried about whether you can prove kama wameiba. That they know hiyo wamejua, mtawapata. So
actually,
that's how I look at it. Yeah, go ahead.
If these guys are smart, which I really do, I don't think they particularly are. The regime, I mean, they're heavily relying on they're relying heavily on the intelligence services, more so than other regimes that I've seen. They're not as clever like Uhuru was or Kibaki is. They're not as clever.
I think they're the same. I think
No. There's a letter. I know what you mean. Ultimately, by your standards, because I know you're somebody who's lived in Kenya and abroad,
right,
and myself as well.
Right.
By our standards of how politics should go, how these social issues should go, for instance, it is crude. But Uhuru and Kibaki had a level of sophistication that Ruto does not possess. Now, when I say sophistication, I mean them relative to each other, not relative to us or other people, right? So Uhuru he wanted to siphon off taxpayers' money. How does he do it? He comes up with this grand project called the SGR, overinflates the money through that land acquisition thing. Because what they did was they went, conceived the deal. Well, they took it from Jimmy Wanjigi, went to the Chinese, and before they announced it, they started buying land along the route or allocating themselves land, because some of that land was actually government, taxpayers' land. There's no such thing as government land. It's taxpayers' land. Others was private. But they allocated themselves those parcels of land that they could. So when the project is announced, the prices shoot up. So that's how they siphoned money. They left something behind. It's a piece of shit, but they left something behind. Ruto is too crude. Hii yake ni kuchukua tu wazi. These people are primitives. You have to understand this. Ni watu wenye, forgive me, but maybe 1 or 2 generations nimeenda shule. Juzi tu.
Yeah.
Other people, not every single community, but other communities walienda shule wakati wa koloni. They started going in the 50s, in the 60s, so they had a head start.
Right.
Some people knew this is the first generation in wamemaliza high school, and they found themselves in parliament.
Now, what do you make of this whole brouhaha? Not brouhaha, but
But real quick, before you we continue, easy thing for them to do to take this election. All they have to do is decide who runs as a candidate. They don't even have to steal votes. Utakuta, it'll be Ruto versus somebody who will concede for Ruto.
Right.
They don't have to steal votes, bro. They learned their lesson. You manena ya ballot stuff, G papers, G form that is what B is too complicated. Aya, clean and fair. So munataka, guess what? It'll be Ruto versus Ruto surrogate.
Right.
They blocked Okot last time. Okot could run in 2013. He was on the ballot. He was allowed. But in 2017, he was blocked by Chebukati. Oh, no. Was it Okot? Somebody was blocked.
Kuru Okot, you mean?
Yeah, 2022. Sorry, he used it too. 2017 he ran, but 2022 he was not on the ballot. They blocked him.
Okay.
Well, he said something was wrong with his paperwork or something like this.
Yeah.
Do you see the game? Yeah.
Yeah.
They can say no Mtata, no Jimmy Wanjigi. No legacy. Yeah. Ruto versus legacy politician, which is still Ruto.
Absolutely.
And now that's how they get you. Because remember, my brother, almost 7 million people, we are told, voted for Ruto, or 7.1. 6.9 voted for Raila. But there was this 8 million that never voted. This 8 million has an extra top-up from people turning 18 from the last election to this coming election that ICE is in 2026. That 8 million that didn't vote is the largest block. Hii raia yenye ilipigia Raila na Ruto, these traditionalists, their numbers are dwindling. These young people are not joining their numbers. Their numbers, as time goes on, wanakufa, their numbers are dwindling, bro. Unaona, they're busybodies running up and down, Matiang'i, nini. No young person knows even Matiang'i. They don't know these people.
Yeah, to me, on this, when it comes to the numbers that we're being told, how people voted and whatever the case is, I'm always skeptical about it. Yes, I believe that a lot of people didn't quite vote in 2022 because it was underwhelming. If you see who was running, I mean, Raila Odinga was, he's been there since 1921, and Ruto, we know how corrupt he is.
Oburu.
Right.
My bro, I'm from. Are you from? What county are you from? I'm from Siaya.
I'm from Kisumu.
Bro, Siaya looks the way it looked during colonial times. Nothing. Ni barabara tu iliwekwa wakati wa Uhuru. But everything stopped after that election campaign. Everything stopped.
No, but the point I was trying to make is this.
Yes, sir.
This whole idea that people talk about when they say, for example, they say that, because there's always this narrative that, okay, Western Kenya, they never show up for votes when it comes to election day at Iwanalewa, they just make noise, but when election day, hawatokezei. But Central, watatokezea. I mean, they're the most populous, and watatokezea watavote. I think we should have a new census to be carried out. I don't believe, in my view, I think that narrative is usually is used to justify, the elections in your village, election in Libya. Because if you think about it, because what wanasemanga, you can't be a president unless you have Mount Kenyan votes. And I argue this, 2017, 2013, Uhuru lost. And he had Central Province vote for him. And the new Rift Valley. What I'm trying to say is this.
I understand.
What I'm trying to say is this. I think this whole narrative that Central kuna watu wengi so much and they always turn out than any other section of the world, the New Kenya, is misleading. I think, yes, we vote through tribal, leanings, whatever the case is.
No, not we. Some people do.
Some, thank you. All right. Thank you for the correction. Some.
No, but I understand what you're saying. Very quickly, yes, it is a narrative that's been pushed around since we were kids, my bro. Tumesikianga hiyo mastori. Hii kabila iko hivi, hii kabila iko hivi, wakati wa kura. This one iko hivi, this one iko hivi.
Because Somali wako wengi. I mean, these guys might have, in fact, if you do the census, I think Somali might be more than even overtake Kikuyus or whatever the case is.
No. I actually don't believe that narrative either.
Right. I might be wrong. That one, yeah.
I think they're heavily concentrated in Nairobi, for instance, and maybe somewhere like Garissa.
Northeastern, whatever the case is.
Yeah. But even in Uko Northeastern, when you go, depending on the time of year, you will find more people or less people, depending on the time of year. The way some of those people live, not all, some of those people live, they actually move. Wako upande wa Kenya one time, wengine wanaenda upande wa Somalia, wengine wanaenda upande wa Ethiopia, depending on the time of year. So it's very hard to pin them down. But saying that, Wakikuyu wako wengi, bro. Kenya yetu wako wengi. Waluya pia wako wengi. But here's the thing.
Yes, the Luya nation is huge.
Yes, but I don't think people vote the way the traditional narrative says they vote. So sio ati Waluya ati wapendi kupiga kura, and those are bigoted.
Right, I agree with you. And yeah,
maybe they just don't see anyone worth voting for.
No, I mean, if you think about it critically, I don't think we've ever had a fair elections. I mean, 2002 was the only time that it was overwhelmingly Kenyans leaning towards Kibaki. But all of the elections before and after that were basically rigging.
And that's a good point. Good point.
So I wanted to ask you about, I don't know if you're familiar with the story, Raila donating 5 acres.
I watched the video you did about it, but I didn't hear about it anywhere else. So I don't follow Raila. Raila is the worst thing to ever happen. Number one, to the Luo nation. Number two, to the Republic of Kenya. This man is the biggest con man on earth, my bro. You know what a confidence artist is?
Yeah.
Because there's a con man and there's a confidence artist.
Yeah.
Like a P.T. Barnum. He's like the classic American confidence artist. So, I mean, if he delivers, it's by accident. It was never the intention.
Actually, it's not even, because I was listening to Professor Ogola talk about it kidogo. It's actually, it's a business deal, and that's why I wanted to tie it to the point that you're making about Uhuru, the way Uhuru was, alikuwa na hizo deal zake alikuwa anazifanya chini ya maji. So yes, while the Oscar Sudis are just, wanaiba zile waziwazi, this deal, Raila giving 5 acres, I mean, it stinks. If you go to Professor Ogola's TikTok, I think he breaks it down how, it's basically a business deal. Ujamaa anasema ati is giving up land, but he's actually not giving up land. The whole project is not even a public, it's not a affordable housing
where is it?
Project, yes.
Where is it?
Huh?
Iko wapi?
Where did they say this?
Nairobi.
Makasembo something, Makasembo in Kisumu. Yeah, it's a whole new, it's a mess. But the thing I want to come up to is, before we pass this before hii kitu ilipitishwe, hii mambo ya housing levy, a lot of people raised questions about how this thing is going to be executed.
Yeah.
And they mentioned and poked holes and say that this thing will actually give a chance for people to, take advantage of it.
Horseshit.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I knew it was horseshit, bro. I knew it was horseshit.
So I'm like, this is
because nobody asked for it.
Thank you.
They never mentioned it.
All these housing projects, from my understanding, maybe what Kenya's schools have changed, but from my understanding, no one wants to live in a high rise somewhere in Nairobi or in a metropolitan area in Kisumu. Everyone works in the town, but wanataka kujenga nyumba yao huko how they want it and So anyway, it comes down to a whole mess here, corruption. The big point I'm making is these people are all the same. Me, I'm not buying all this Wamunyoro versus
Of course not.
Ruto and all this stuff. I think this is basically done to suppress or to pacify or to move focus away from what we really need to talk about, which I'm glad it's starting to pick up, especially after the arrest of Njeri, who highlighted the kind of taxes that this finance bill is actually going to tax. So,
but what the sorry. So sorry. Watch this. Remember when June 25th happened?
yes.
Gashagwa had a parallel press conference to Ruto. He was Gashagwa was alikuwa Mombasa, I think. What did he mention in that presser? Remember?
No,
What was the subject?
I can't remember. What was it?
He said all this happened because of changes that were made to the intelligence service. That's what he kept saying. He kept talking about the intelligence service. Now,
wait, he said that the 25th, June 25th thing happened because of the change of the intelligence, Nenio?
That's what he said, that it was a failure of the intelligence service to not warn them that something like this was going to happen. And then he started talking about directors being removed that were there long term and then they were replaced by some other people or something like this. But my point is, his point of call, his point of reference in that address was the intelligence service. Now, Gashagwa's background is what? Former DO. This man is government through and through. Hajawahi fanya kazi ingine bro. Wachana hizi mabiashara wana claim wanafanya. Hizo are not their primary form of income. If you look at this man's career, he's been a civil servant from the beginning. Why would you think a civil servant would break from the hand that feeds him his entire adult life? Walikuja na hii mpango. This is my theory. You, Gashagwa, you act like we're at odds with each other. We need to balkanize this thing. Whatever this large group that's come to face us, we need to balkanize it. We need to break it down. So what do? You form different power centers. Because now they're attacking the central power center, make them think there are other power centers forming. Natembea, Gashagwa, Matiang'i, which other areas are being contested right now? Places like Coast, they're not bothering it because they're not making noise per se, the way these other areas are, like political noise, like where do we go, blah, blah, blah. So they're focusing on these. I think these are the swing states of Kenya.
Yes.
They're developing to become the swing states of Kenya, where you see all this political activity going on now.
Right.
So this is their plan, bro. All these people are. Natembea is a former civil servant as well. So alikuwa anafanyia serikali kazi.
Yeah.
They're appealing to a semi-literate population, which is thankfully is a dwindling population in Kenya. These younger people are mechanuka, wanasoma. They don't have to do it in a classroom. They're actually well informed compared to the way we were at their age during our time. So these politicians are doing what they know best. Yes, they're trying to get in new ideas here, there, the Tumbis, whatever, but their modus operandi is the same.
Well,
that's why you see it looks a bit awkward, because these young people are looking at this thing and going, what are these people doing?
They're trying to recruit the younger folks to be part of their mess.
Yes.
I mean, you see the Moraras and Casmuels and
yes, but the methodology is my point. It doesn't work. But what you said is the absolute intent. Jaribu kuingiza hao vijana kwa hizi makambi zetu. Vile tuliingiza wazazi wao kwa makambi. Huyu ni wa Raila, huyu ni wa Uhuru, huyu ni wa hivi. Huyu wa Olentimama, Masai, Olentimama. Huyu ni wenyu. Kind of thing. But these young people are not responding the way their parents did. And these legacy politicians are finding it awkward. Do you see that thing with the Lachi? That what's it called? Power prayer or breakfast or whatever?
Yes.
Do you see how
Breakfast.
awkward that is for somebody in their 20s right now in 2025?
Right.
Even somebody in their 30s. It's very awkward. Hii ndio tunafanya watu wanaenda space. This is what we're doing. But for wazazi wetu, and for those of us who still have grandparents, my grandparents are all dead. They're all the age, you know. But for those of us who have grandparents and older parents, that makes sense to them.
Right.
But that population is going away.
Now, let me ask you this last question, which is $1 million question.
Mhm.
How do we control the narrative? We, as the so-called pro-Gen Z, Gen Z, millennials, people who want change, how
Easy.
do we control this narrative? Because it seems like, okay, these guys have the mainstream media, Gideri media, and they are kind of, one or two, what do you call it? Blackball from I don't know, X, other channels that talk about a bunch of nonsense. I'm just saying, how do we have a forum, or how does our voices get to be the loudest as far as the people who are advocating for a total overhaul of the system? How do we get our message out there more? Because I'm advocating for us, kind of networking and having more lives, more talks like this. And
It's easy. It's easy, my brother. It's so easy. Even though I'm not advocating for this particular individual I'm going to mention, but in the United States, for instance, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How did Trump do it?
Well, Trump,
Very simple.
but he has the resources that we may not have.
Trump didn't buy nobody like that. You know what he did?
Yeah.
He just said he just said what everybody else was thinking. Don't be afraid to say what you know everybody else is thinking. When you say it, people will turn and go, huh? What's going on here? It's that simple. If you remember, Ukosteto, Sai, for now, at this, like in this moment in time, or
I'm somewhere.
Okay. Say less. Don't say nothing. But but as an example, unakumbuka vile watu walikuwa even watching on the news, whatever, Stato watu wanaogopa kuongea certain subjects, nini.
Yeah.
For example, during Biden's time, Trump just came in and started talking.
Yeah, but
I'm telling you, it works.
I get what you're saying, but it's different. We're not, like I said again, I think Kenya, this is what's happening in Kenya. The majority of people know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are advocating for a total overhaul of the system, and they're calling out the bullshit that the government and the so-called fake opposition, actually the fake opposition, are propagating. They're limited to X spaces. And these X spaces, we're not having as much the rigorous debates that we used to have before the Finance Bill 2024, if you remember. There are no posters anymore. We used to have every week kuna poster, or there's some X to discuss how tutaenda kutana downtown next week, or whatever the case is. These guys took over that, wakachukua wakina Morara, wakachukua wakina Hanifu, wakachukua wakina Boniface Mwangi, chukua all these people. Then they brought us back, and now they're parading the same old yesteryear, irredeemably corrupt politicians who have been there since time immemorial, okay? Wakina Raila na Gachagua, okay? We are not hearing more about wakina Kamuzi, wakina Nino, because they've been, some of them compromised, some of them wamepewa job, or whatever the case is, wamelipwa, all of them are talking about 27. Now, a few are left. Gaito, Miguna is still doing his thing, and many others. I want to hear more of those voices dominate on X and not talk about these nonsensical fights over Sumia and sijui Gachagua said this yesterday.
No, no, no. I told you the PR machine is working on overtime. It's like they got a cash injection. But here's the thing, it won't last. Umenda mute, my bro. Rebel, can you hear us? Umenda mute. Hold on, bro. Umenda mute. I can't hear you, my brother. Oh, you're muted. Yes, yes, yes. Can't hear you. I mean, I can hear myself, but I. Okay.